Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, and welcome to the first podcast of our new segment, Paws On Netflix, in which we review current Netflix original series.
This podcast, we review the popular Netflix anime, Beastars.
And this was a request made by one of our followers, Bailey Sambucan.
Yes.
So we finally finished watching it, and this initial podcast of our new coverage is for you.
Yes. So what is this show about again?
Well, this original Netflix series is about a school populated by anthropomorphic animals.
Oh, they're going to love that.
Yes, and you have a humble wolf named Legosi who investigates a classmate's sudden murder while contending with his bewildering feelings for a kindly dwarf pretty girl rabbit.
Yeah, well, this is not for kids. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and more Paws videos.
And more Paws on Netflix.
Yes.
Yes, this was an interesting and very different anime series for us entirely.
Yes. Think of it as Zootopia if they decide to just focus solely on the discrimination part of the movie.
And I would also say Zootopia for mature audiences only.
Yeah. And, they go beyond what Zootopia couldn't do for being a Disney flick. This show holds nothing back with its story and its setting and its... Basically, it's one rough show to watch. But we have seen so many people give it some high praise for being a very complex and darker telling for an anime. And it's not something you expect to be popular. But apparently people have read the manga too and have enjoyed it immensely. And I think that Netflix did a great job in adapting it from the manga.
So remember, we've never read the manga. So we're approaching this as an anime-only viewer.
Right.
One thing that was unnerving for me, only because I love the Loud House, and that was Laura Jill Miller, who does the voice of...
This is Haru?
No.
Are you talking about the rabbit, but you're talking about Loud House, right?
On Loud House, she does the voice of...
Lisa. Yeah, the smart one.
And she voices in here Haru, the rabbit who... stays true to the nature of rabbits.
Yes.
And it was very odd hearing that voice coming out of this character.
Yes, it was. All you could hear most of the time was Lisa
kept thinking
Loud.
it was Lisa. For the first few episodes, you kept thinking Lisa Loud. You're going, okay, we got to get out of this headspace. This is not Lisa Loud. This is a totally different character who's nothing like Lisa.
Right.
So let's just watch the show.
Right. That's what you had to get over first for us.
And you have some great voice acting talent. You have Ben Diskin. You also have Kyle Hebert and Cal McCarley.
Right, and Lauren Landa, Bryce Papenbrook, which we heard several times in here.
Yes, definitely.
Griffin Burns, Keith Silverstein,
Michael Chapman, Jeremy Lee, and plenty more, because there is a large cast in this particular anime, and some of them are people you may hear from, or characters I should say, you hear from once, and some of these characters do make additional appearances, but in later episodes.
Right.
And this particular anime had 13 episodes.
Yes.
And it has been renewed for season 2.
Yes. And here's the thing, when it starts out, it had you thinking one story's going to be told, and it tells a completely different one. Like we stated, one of the students actually gets mauled by a predator, but the thing is, you don't know who did it.
Right.
They never show you who did it. They just show that they have an alpaca or a llama running from something that's chasing them. And the next day, they've been mauled, and it's a crime scene. It's like, that's a good way to open it.
It's a dark anime on top of that. It is not for the lighthearted or those who are looking for
something like Zootopia,
cute or fun or so forth. It isn't. It's very steeped in a dark underworld.
Right.
It's steeped in...
They're making more reality-based, I guess, yeah.
So yes, this is not for those who are looking for the typical anime fare. Netflix took a chance on this one, and it paid off for them because, as you mentioned earlier, it's really popular, and it stayed in the top 10 for quite a few weeks upon its original release.
Right.
We originally began watching this series. We watched the first 6 episodes. Then we had so much other anime and so many other shows that we were watching that we really wanted to just finish up, that we put Beastars on the back burner for about a month and then came back to it.
Right.
But I can say that even though we took a break and picked up where we left off, it did not diminish or affect the viewing or enjoyment of this anime at all. I mean, it was like you never left off. And I have to say that each episode really, to me, is more like its own little mini movie. It might be a short movie, but each one seems to be where it could stand alone. If you didn't know that this was part of a series, you could watch each episode separately, and the way that each one begins and ends it's like each is its own little mini movie.
Right. And it's pretty interesting that they did that. And I mean, you could even, if you didn't watch it in order, you could just watch one episode or like randomly and just feel like its own story. So that's a really well done in that point.
And I think they do a great job of letting you know the backstories of the characters, or the main characters I should say, and of getting you familiar with the characters without beating you over the head with it, or, you know, yelling out, hey, this is the main character, you need to pay attention to this character. The way the story is told, it flows smoothly and seamlessly, and you get to know the character as the story progresses without there being a fanfare and a standout portion where you have to have, you know, black and white, sepia, or, you know, a whole backstory episode. It's not like that.
Right.
Backstories are presented as the story progresses, again, without drawing attention from the storyline. I think the way that was done was brilliant, because it flows with all this going on. It does flow from episode to episode.
Right.
It flows from scene to scene. The story is not choppy or disconnected, and I think they did a great job in that. Maybe that's the way the manga is written. If it is, then the manga should definitely be a very interesting read.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also interesting is how they have every animal student have a different take on them. And what the thing is, like a lot of comparisons is done with Zootopia, is that they both have this theme of predator and prey. That part is in here, but instead of having where, hey, it's not as black and white as you think, not everyone is like this. No, in here, yeah, all the predators want to eat the meat, but they just can't because they don't want to get arrested or blacklisted or anything. So they have all of these like black market things and underground societies and things dedicated to harvesting prey animals, so the carnivores who don't want to go vegan can go and eat all the prey animals undetected, or they get paid off. It's like, oh gosh, is this a crime movie now?
It's kind of like True Blood, where they had their synthetic blood that they would drink, so if they didn't want to be vampires biting people, they could. It reminds me of that.
Right. And like I said, some of them do want to stay vegan or vegetarian, whichever they do in here. And they got both.
Like Dracula.
Right. Some of them do want to stay like that, and they do really want to get along with the predator and the prey. They do want to, you know, live together with them, be friends with them. But some of them still have that edge on them where you know they're suppressing their animal instincts, which becomes a huge part of the show on what it means to be a predator and a prey, and then everyone's social standing, not wanting to be the one trademark thing you know about that animal.
And now that you brought that up, that's a great way to segue into what I was thinking about, and they chose an interesting way to represent the different cliques of high school.
Right.
Each clique was represented by a different animal group. So that was pretty brilliant too.
Right.
I did find that very interesting. And as you mentioned, they tried not to do stereotypical representations of the animals, but their characteristics were highlighted on and made apparent in each character's personality.
Right. Like for what's his name? Legosi, right?
Legosi.
Legosi, instead of him being the big tough strong wolf, he's really timid and shy. Haru isn't as happy-go-lucky as you think.
And Haru's character totally was just a
unexpected.
Shock. Very unexpected, very shocking, and definitely probably made up the majority of the conversation that went on online. And that's all that we'll say without spoiling anything.
Right. And probably the most interesting character to fit into his criteria was Lewis, who's the deer.
And he was voiced by Griffin Puatu?
Yeah, who did a great job voicing him. He's probably the most interesting character in here aside from the main characters because his constant character arc is that, you know, the deer is always seen as the helpless one. And in here, he has a sort of superiority and inferiority complex where he doesn't want to be seen as just the helpless deer. Mm-hmm. He wants to be seen as the strongest animal at that school and taken seriously, and he takes great pride in his performances and his plays. He won't anyone push him around. He has a no bullcrap tolerance thing going for him, and that's pretty much how his character is. Even though he sort of ends up judging some other animals, his character drives on the fact that he doesn't want to be taken as just a Bambi-like character.
And he also has a very interesting backstory as well. So as I mentioned, you have all these little mini movies, as I'm going to call them, within each episode. You get to the last 3 episodes of this series, and there's no other way to put it, all hell breaks loose. You really find out more about the true personality and natures of the characters. There's actually character development in the short 13 episodes. And that also is something that was really great about this anime. Lots of character development, but it wasn't obvious or you know, thrown in your face or look here, this character development. You just realize by the time you got to the end of the series, hey, there are changes in these characters. Hey, this character has gotten better. Hey, I can see that although there wasn't a happy ending or this didn't go the way I expected, this character has grown, matured, and gotten better. That was also very brilliant.
Right. And there is actually some times where they have comedy. It's mostly a darker, more dramatic storytelling for the setting and how the animals work. But there are moments they do have some comedy moments, like when Legosi trying to talk to Haru, his mind goes like 1,000,000 miles an hour, playbacking moments and things, and he's got his little mini chibi version of himself thinking on what to do, and he's like, why can't I do this? Why am I stuck? What is wrong with me? And he's kind of like just falling over himself inside his mind. And one of my favorite moments is when they had a prologue clip dedicated to a chicken, and her part-time job was that she lays the best eggs ever, and they use the eggs in addition to things in the cafeteria to serve to the other animals, and they think it's the most delicious eggs they've ever tasted. She takes great pride in laying the best eggs, so she keeps herself in shape to produce the best eggs. I thought that was the greatest, funniest part of the whole show, and her name was Lego.
Yes. That was so hilarious.
I was like,
we kept saying Lego, my egg.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, yeah. For me, that was like the funniest part of the whole show for one that keeps its tone very serious.
So I have to say that for this particular series, again, Netflix took a chance that paid off, and this is one of the examples of why Netflix is such an awesome streaming service. This particular anime would have never been on any other streaming service. No one would have given it a chance. They probably would have shied away from the content, the subject matter, and the way it was presented, but not Netflix. And by not only having spectacular animation and having a story, as I said, that each episode could stand alone, which definitely points to brilliant writing, but also going toward a genre with furries.
I think it can we count as a furry one because look, it's all anthropomorphic animals, and it fits, I think, pretty much all the criteria of furry fans. So it's technically something for the furries.
And as you mentioned, it being more realistic, a darker tone, and focusing on high school. However, definitely not for young viewers at all. Netflix just has shown why they are dominating the streaming market and why they're a force to be reckoned with. They keep putting out shows that are outstanding, different, lots of unique and original anime, picking up shows that are worthy of going on but are being canceled and giving them a life. Again, this show just is an example of why Netflix is at the top of the food chain, staying in tone with the show itself.
Right.
Netflix is awesome, and Beastars is another awesome show that they had. Is it an anime that I would have watched had I known what it was about? Probably not. So I think just like with Promised Neverland, not knowing the storyline, Beastars is an anime that you really don't want or need to know the whole story to. You need to watch it. Sight unknown, unless you read the manga. And just roll with it and watch it and see what the series has to offer.
Yes.
So, if like Bailey, you have watched Beastars and you love it, or you hated it, or you just have some comments you'd like to make on this particular type of anime that Netflix has made, let us know what you think in the comments below. And Bailey, we're waiting to hear from you as well. And
be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get up to some future podcasts and more Paws videos.
And more Paws on Netflix. This is something we've been waiting to do for a while, and it's fun just seeing again the fantastic content Netflix gives to its growing, diverse audience.
Yes.
And there's something for everyone on Netflix, Beastars included. So based on our not knowing what it was about, watching it, breaking it up into two, and as a recommendation we were happy to accept and comply with, I would give Beastars an A-.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say an A- is because for me it's much darker than I'm used to, and also some content that I was kind of shocked to see in an anime.
Yeah.
Even though in regular anime, the nice way to put it is there's a lot of fan service in regular anime, but the fan service doesn't delve into fully going and pushing it over the edge. Beastars does.
Yes. And if that's something that you like, then you'll definitely have another part to enjoy for the show.
Definitely. So, with that, thanks for joining us on our new Paws on Netflix series.
Yes. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace and happy viewing.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man. Who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams. She was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in